Hello and welcome back to the workshop. It's fabulous to have you here because this is indeed a part 5 of making the Damascus Steel CSGO M9 bayonet. It's a pleasure to have you here and I hope you enjoy. So here is the piece of Damascus steel that I cut off yesterday for the pommel. Now it's difficult, okay? I'd love to make this be a perfectly functional, boom, you throw it straight on and it'll fit onto proper bayonet mounts. Sadly, it is a complicated little pommel system that they have to mount in there. There's like a spring and a clip, and I definitely cannot do that. What I'm gonna try and do to at least imitate, you know, give the impression that at least if one was to make an appropriate fitting thing, it would work, is I'm going to mill myself a little bit of a channel in there. For now, however, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna square off 2 sides. We're then gonna flatten off top and bottom off of that, you know, get at least some flat surfaces, drill some holes, mill some things, have some fun, and you know, abuse this old Bridgeport just a little bit more. Just got a 10mm end mill in there, same thing we were using earlier. It'll span the whole way across, so it should be fine. Okay, there we go. So I now have this one flat. We're not going to go for amazing accuracy of squareness.
No, I haven't made it yet, but sorry.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. I've lost my train of thought now, and I have to go back in time. Okay, so there we go. It's flat across that one side. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to put a piece of wood behind it, and I'm going to flatten, I'm going to hammer this down so that this is flat with a parallel on the bottom. Hopefully that means I can get according flatness on the other side. Oh, engineers watching this and machinists watching this are crying and rolling around in pain as they see me do a terrible job of machining. There we go, that should be pretty square. So this is the guard that is now out of the acid, and we are going to polish it up and make this thing look beautiful. This is obviously a very simple Damascus pattern, but I think this is gonna really, look how beautiful that is. I think it's gonna work just beautifully with the really complex pattern that we have on the knife. So I have the guard polished up, I have the pommel in the acid, I'm about to take that out and neutralize it, but first we are needing to think about the handle. Now, this is where I lose a lot of subscribers because I'm making the handle out of plastic. As I've been making this, I've been deciding what it is that I'd make it out of, and I have settled on trying a new material that I've never used before. I heard Adam Savage on Tested talking about this material, and it is Delrin plastic. It's a machining plastic that apparently machines very well, and I'm very excited to try it out. I'm going to be using the lathe, because of course this handle, it is indeed a round handle, it's not ovalized. So we're going to be using the lathe, we're also going to be using the milling machine to mill some grooves in this and give it that look, that kind of tactical bayonet look that the video game knife has. So this is the Delrin plastic that we're going to use. I just had it arrive today, and it's a really interesting material. It's very dense and it feels very hard. it's not soft, which is really interesting. I'm excited to try new materials. I'm excited to see how it cuts on the lathe. I'm just very excited to see how this handle looks once it's done. So this is my Colchester student lathe. So this lathe is probably 30 or 40 years old, something like that, so it certainly had a lot of use put through it, and she's a good old girl. She certainly does the job for me. The first operation that I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting this in the chuck, and then we're going to face off the end. I'm going to put a center drill in the end, so then I can support it with a live center from this. This is the tail stock. Then this can come out a little more, and we can begin a lot of the heavy stock removal that's going to be required for us to get the shape of the handle that we want. Here we go! Let's do it! So here we go. I'm going to use this. This is a center drill. So now we have ourselves a little hole in the very end there that we know is in the middle of that bar. Beautiful. I'm gonna take a pretty heavy cut here, engage the power feed. Oh, that is beautiful! Woo! Look at that Delrin fly. Isn't that something? Woo! Look at that surface finish. Woo! Dougly. So right now I have this machine down a little bit, as you've been seeing. The issue is because I'm not a machinist, I have no clue of, as Adam Savage will refer to it as, the order of operations, the correct order of operations to make this part. I have no idea how I'm gonna do it. So I've been thinking here, and I've drawn up kind of, I mean obviously that's not much of a drawing, but essentially what I'm after is a very slight taper. Some grooves cut in the taper, along the length of the taper, along the side of the sides of the taper, all the way around, and I need a rectangular hole running at least as far down it as possible. I can file and chisel out a decent amount of it, but I need it to at least, you know, be started, hopefully on the mill. So I'm trying to work out how I'm gonna organize my steps. I certainly know that I can't grip onto a taper in the mill without making myself up a collet, which is actually possible. I have plenty enough Delrin to go ahead and take a larger piece, drill a hole, machine in the exact same taper as what I turn here, and then cut a slot in it, and then use that as a collet to then have parallel sides that I could then mount the taper in my vise. That's a possibility. That's a decent amount of time. And really, what I think I should have done is, while it was thick, I should have cut in the rectangular slot. It's still pretty thick now, but basically I have to decide whether I cut this off and then lose a lot of the handling material and go straight in here. Yeah, maybe right now I should go into the mill and cut that slot. I don't know. I don't know any of this stuff. About the most that I know right now is Delrin makes for an... Delrin doesn't make for an awesome wig. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to a decision. It seems to be one of those things in life, as if you don't know what you're doing, just do. I'm just gonna do something. What I'm gonna do is, this is gonna go in the mill, but I'm gonna lop off a decent little bit here. We're gonna do that real fast using the parting tool here on the lathe. So we're gonna stick this in here, tighten up the chuck, part it off, and then mill this down to that diameter, and then we're going into the mill. Done it. It is now time to take this out of the lathe. Here we go. Out we go, and into the milling machine. And we've arrived, and we have our piece of Delrin with us. It was a long trip from the lathe to the milling machine, but we have made it. Now this needs to somehow get mounted in the vise. This won't be too difficult, actually. Okay. Man, this really is gonna be a lot easier than I thought. I'd worked myself up into such a little muddle here, worried about how this was gonna go. I'm just gonna go ahead and use this V block. I wonder if I should have it this way or the other way. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have it this way. I'm gonna use this V block here, and simply make sure it's flat across the bottom, and give it the old little crankaroo. And then use my machinist's hammer, give it a little bit of a tighten. There we go. That should be seriously solid. That's not quite flat on the bottom. I think a few more hammer blows. Flat across the bottom, flat on the sides. We're ready to try and line this thing up. I have no idea how I would properly line this up. I've got a hole, and I need to find the center of the hole. What I have, however, is I have a piece of 6mm, you know, perfect 6mm rod there, held in a collet. I'm going to lower this down, and we're gonna see if I can just inch my way in so it goes up and down and into the hole as smoothly as possible. By feel. Oh, well, look at that. Did I get that first time? No, I got that first time. Feels like there's no friction. What? Holy moly, that's magical. Why would I say magical? How about I just say that it is wizardry? Or just beautiful serendipity. I'm calling that bang on. So now I will insert an actual 6mm end mill in. We'll bring her back over to the 0. We're now pretty damn close to 0. I'm gonna do some maths, so I don't make the same mistake I made yesterday. And then we're gonna start machining. Woo, we've got it, let's do it.
I can't believe diamonds so pearls, and I'm gonna take you traveling the world. But I can love you. Yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'll give you the whole of what I've got. The fancy finds, baby, I have not. Just gonna love you. Yeah, I'm gonna love you.
Dokily, I think that we have done it. Looking great. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a larger end mill in, and I'm gonna create a flat reference spot on the back side so that whenever I wanna flip it, I can do it, and I'm gonna have a flat spot to work with. So this has a hole that is going down it, and it is somewhat rectangular most of the way down, and I have these 2 indexings of flat spots. I decided to do this. This means that at the end, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but when I plan to machine in some grooves that go longitudinally, I'm gonna be able to square this off and then use this as my indexing to get it 90 degrees with the slot. Now, you see there, we still have a little bit of that initial hole center, so that's gonna mean that I can put this in the chuck and I can put a live center in so that this can be stabilized while being held with very little, and we can begin turning this puppy. I need a 1.5 degree taper to get the end here, 26.1, and the end up there, 29, something like that, and that should be pretty close. So after lots of machining, lots of learning, this is where I'm at. We have this tapered piece. I've got grooves cut in it longitudinally. We've got grooves running across this way on the piece. This isn't finished here on the end. And I have a slot that's pretty good from this half, but has a lot of work to do on that half, because that's not a slot, that's 2 holes. So What I'm now gonna do is we're gonna grip this in the vise, and with files and a little kind of reamer that I have, we are gonna start opening this up and getting this to fit on the tang. Taken a lot of time, but I have this fitting pretty far up here, and I think that this can be where it goes together. I've also polished up our little pommel there. So on we go with the guard. Oh man, that fits so well. I'm gonna make sure I've got the right orientation with this. Oh yes, perfect fit up. It goes up the handle just beautifully. I'm going to need to heirloom fit this, obviously where that protrudes past the guard. We're gonna gently contour that over with the grinder. We need to do some work here on this back end, and let's see how well the pommel fits. Okay, that means that this tang is not 6 millimeters, so I'm gonna work it down a little bit so the pommel fits on. Then we can thread this, then we can make a pin for the pommel that goes into here. That looks so cool though. Look how awesome this looks. Oh my goodness, it looks so tactical. That looks so cool. That is, I never ever would have believed that I'd have worked plastic. But I've done my first thing out of plastic, and I'm really actually quite pleased with how this looks. This seems really authentic to what the video game knife might have looked like in real life. That black plastic, but machining this has obviously taken its time. We're about ready for the fit up. I just need to make one more part, and that is a little nut to go on the end of the pommel. Once I've threaded the tang, that will screw on and tighten it all together. So now all I need to do is I need to cut off just a little bit of that tang there, about 1/2 inch of the tang, and then it's on to gluing everything up. Now Delrin itself doesn't actually take to glue very well, so really all the glue is going to be doing with the Delrin is just filling up all the gaps between the steel and the Delrin. It's a wonderfully tight fit now already, but by filling up the gaps and then relying on the tension that we're going to be putting on it with the screw and then the glue everywhere else, I think this is going to help this be a nice kind of rigid construction. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. This is the Damascus Steel CSGO M9 bayonet, and I could not be more pleased. Oh my goodness, the mosaic Damascus in there. I have been so thrilled with trying to use a new material, Delrin. I think it really fits nicely with the tactical look of this blade. I am just so thrilled. I really hope that you've enjoyed watching this series. If you're here in the future and you want to watch part 1, you want to work your way through, there's a link to part 1 right here. There's the last episode right here. And of course, guys, if you're new, hit subscribe. My subscribers, the wonderful folks that keep dropping in the comments and watch every single day. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please share the videos with your friends. And of course, I will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Have a great day. Bye.